Howdy, all you delicious people. I am here today to review the pilot episode of Disney's The Mighty Ducks Game Changers. So, we seemingly have it to where in this show, I'm going to tee you up on a little bit of the show, talk about it cryptically, yes, but then we'll go into spoilers. So, we have it seemingly where the Mighty Ducks, I guess, are probably going to actually be the villains of this story. I would assess, which is weird. We do have Gordon Bombay seemingly be the good guy here, but I also can't really quite grasp what exactly Gordon Bombay is actually doing in this show. It just seems like a guy that is going to be the mentor. He's probably going to be the Hans of this team, quite possibly, until he decides when he wants to be the actual coach of this said game-changing team. I do kind of like this movie or this show because it is a underdog like story, but also when looking at it, I've kind of seen so many of these things like this, and this is absolutely at this point no different than any like if you've seen the Rob Schneider film Benchwarmers, that basically is this show in spades. We have it to where we seemingly have the original Mighty Ducks approach of this show. We have certain stars of this show, and they are shown to be fairly prominent within the first episode. We have Alex, who is Evan Morrow's mother, who seems, of course, if you guys know from Gilmore Girls, she seems to be in this show within this one episode quite a bit. And we do have Gordon Bombay popping in from time to time to just be a, hey, this is cool that he's in this show. But there's not much beyond that. Like he does to me remind me of Hans. He's doing like the Hans thing, and so he's kind of being the mentor to what is to be Alex, who she is going to actually be the coach of this team. And so we take this entire episode to have a kid trying in desperation to find other kids to join a hockey team. Basically, in a nutshell, that's this entire first episode. I would say this episode does feel quite flimsy. Hilariously enough, we have an entire episode that does not have one lick of hockey seemingly actually in it. There's not one thing of actual hockey seemingly in this entire episode, and it's a show about hockey. Shouldn't I have been getting hockey from minute one to the tail end of this show? I am so baffled and or confused how this is a thing about hockey, but we've completely almost avoided hockey whatsoever. We'll wait to the other episodes. We're gonna wait to see what ends up happening. I think a lot of people are immediately saying they like, hey, I want my Mighty Ducks original cast reunion in this show. There's a lot of people that are saying, like, well, my favorite actor is this. My favorite Mighty Ducks was this person. And so I want them to come back to be the quasi assistant coach or quasi coaching episode thing. Like, I think what's going to happen is we're going to have a kid having their entire episode where one person is probably going to come back from the past, maybe to train this one kid, or we're going to have like one episode where maybe the original Mighty Ducks do come back to just go, oh, well, I'm going to train this person, I'm going to train this person, I'm going to train this person, I'm going to train. So there might be that there, because we have it in here already in this first episode that this is Gordon Bombay and this is a pre-existing Gordon Bombay who had taught the Mighty Ducks before this. At first, we end up trying to hide it, but then we were to be confused of like, oh, is this brand new Gordon Bombay? Is this rebooted Gordon Bombay? What is this? And we end up finding out it's like, oh no, like all of that previous Mighty Duck stuff is all within the confines of this new show, which I guess there could be a door opening to have people come back or whatever. I think that's the only interesting thing about this show is, you know what, I don't care about the new product with a lot of the old product. The old product was so much better compared to this product, which is just it. It kind of feels like this episode really stretched a lot, and really just wasted a lot of time. And I was just kind of just disappointed in this first episode, but I'm willing to see where this episode goes next, and hopefully we have this thing called hockey in this show. So this first episode had to lay a lot of groundwork, and reasonably, it was, writing wise, it just was, man, just not really the best approach for a show in its first outing. So we'll see where, and if immediately I'm in one episode saying, yeah, this is kind of disappointing, I'm just waiting for other episodes for me to just go, yeah, why did I even watch this show? Why did I even watch this? It's a disappointing episode, but I think for a lot of diehard fans that remember this, or just for a younger audience to get into this show, you know what? It's a good show for that. For diehard fans or getting a younger audience interested in this show, then by golly, just do that for the diehards, because they'll be interested in this regardless. So, not that there's anything wrong with it. I reviewed the first Mighty Ducks movie in anticipation of me eventually hearing about this show, because like, yeah, I actually like the original Mighty Ducks. I saw every single one of them, and so on and so forth. So I think it's about that time to go into spoilers. I spent almost 10 minutes talking about this very cryptically. But yeah, it's a lot of Alex Morrow and I would say quite a bit of Gordon Bombay. But we have some slices and things of these kids trying to get their team together, and it just, yeah, that's how that goes in this first episode. So that's kind of my overall just for this episode. So we'll see where it goes past this one. So spoiler time, spoiler time. It's about that time when to spoil this show. So we have it to where in this episode we have Alex Morrow, who is a businesswoman. It seems that her boss had left her paperwork to go off to get her or watch her kid play hockey. And Alex was also trying to do that, but instead she has to do her boss's work before she herself can go and see her kid practice hockey. So we have here that Evan Morrow is trying out for what is to be the new Mighty Ducks. It seems they tried to. Everything about this show was to try and tweak or change or slightly make, hey, this is something you can be familiar with, but as much as humanly possible, we are also trying to change everything so it doesn't seem like the original Mighty Ducks movies, because we want to pay for logos or we want to pay for the Mighty Ducks word, but we're also going to try to reinvent some things so it looks slightly different, and so on and so forth. AKA Gordon Bombay being a ice rink owner instead of a hockey store owner, because that makes all the sense in the world from the original movies now that he has a ice skating rink. Sure. Okay. Whatever you want to do. So we go on here and we have this practice to go on, and this really, what is the perfect word here? Jerk, I guess. I'm trying to say this the cleanest way possible. This jerk coach that basically mentions that you need to have been birthed with a hockey stick in your hand. We have this coach cutting Evan Morrow to just say, well, hey man, you need to have been basically born with a hockey stick in your hand, or otherwise don't bother. And Alexa Morrow takes that and she's like, oh my god, why do these kids have to practice so ridiculously hard to be able to play hockey? Isn't this kind of ridiculous? Alexa Morrow goes on to this rant of how it seems that there is one parent that has two different hockey trainers that are watching over this woman's child while this is to go on. And Alexa Morrow is mentioning about how these kids have to be stuffed to the gills with proteins and all kinds of things. They're kind of having to bizarrely prep these kids for like Olympic hockey. They're having these kids train their entire lives and lift weights and do all kinds of whatever that they have to do absurdly to be able to play hockey at a peewee level. And we have a hockey coach telling most of his people trying out for the hockey team to don't bother even coming back here because you're just not good enough. So we have Alexa Morrow telling this coach off, saying that don't bother. Yeah, well, I'm no longer going to bother having my son be on this team or try out for this team because he is going to go on his own and make a team all on his own, which that is going to be the easiest thing in the world, right? So we have Evan Morrow that's going, well, I guess I'm not playing hockey this year, because they have seemingly days before they are to have to qualify to be in this league for this year. And they need a number of players already signed up for this team already to be able to play this year. So we have Evan Morrow, who is supposed to have him and 5 other people, so 6 players altogether, to be able to make a team. And so we have Alex Morrow scrambling to try and figure out how to be able to get a ring together, like a rink, an ice rink for them to be able to practice and or play. So we have where Evan is going with a kid called Nick Gaines, who Nick Gaines was a commentator for the Mighty Ducks, but he quickly becomes player number 2, I guess, for this hockey team. Because we have Nick Gaines who goes to Alex Morrow and says, hey, yeah, like the video that you did about the don't bother thing has kind of gone viral. There was a lot of people that were taping this rant that you did, and man, it's exploding. And so Nick Gaines is desperately going to Alex to get a exclusive, and so Alex Morrow asks this kid, hey, like, considering how passionate you are about hockey, why haven't you ever played? Nick mentions that he's like, well, my body isn't exactly geared up for hockey, so yeah. My body is made for obviously a podcast or a behind the microphone approach. And so Alex is just like, no, like, hey, we're putting a team together where anyone can play and it can be fun. So Nick is like, well, I guess I'll just go and just be a part of this team. So we have both Evan and Nick trying to put a team together, but Evan is losing his mind because he's like, well, there's no way this is going to happen. There's no way we're going to win anybody over. And so we have it to where Evan and Nick are going through the school and finding some people that they think are going to be prime candidates to join their hockey team. And it seems that every single one of these candidates say no, there's no way I'm going to be able to play with your team. But I'm like, so we're going to have it to where they're going to say no now, but they're going to say yes later, because that's what always happens in every single one of these things. Because we're going to go and do the back around thing, and we're going to have Evan being a much more assertive person to try and persuade these people even more so, and then they'll just be like, you know what? This time around, yes. I said no before, but now I'm going to say yes to you because they only asked a certain number of people. They only asked a certain number of people. So we have to where Nick and Evan are being shunned. We have Evan who realizes that if you're not a Mighty Duck, the Mighty Ducks do not want to have anything to do with you. So go on to another table. You're not a duck anymore. Quack, 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 you schlub. So Evan and Nick go onto their own table. And so we have it to where Nick and Evan are just like, dude, there is no way we're going to get a team here. So we have seemingly a guy that is from Toronto, Canada, moving in their neighborhood, which is just like, well, thank God. Whoo! Because I guess Canadians have a stereotype of every single Canadian can play hockey, evidently. That is so bizarre. I'm sorry, not every single Canadian can play hockey. That is a stereotype that is ridiculous. But, anyways, so we have this really cool blonde ambition Aquaman like looking guy. Surfer, I think much more of a surfer than a Canadian, but to each their own. Going in here and saying, hey, yeah, I've thrown the puck a time or two. Yeah, this Canadian character, this Canadian hockey player cannot skate. Because we have it to where Nick and Evan go to practice and they bring along this I want to say that his name is okay, I don't think it says here. Great. Maybe it's Jaden. I don't know. Cuz I don't think his face is shown on here. So moving on. So we go on here, and that's when Evan just throws his gear off and just is like, you know what? We only have 3 people and we need 3 more people. And we have days to do this. You know what? I'm calling it quits. I'm done. And so we have Alex who went out of her way to go to this ice palace to meet Gordon Bombay, to have Gordon Bombay tell Alex that he hates hockey and that he doesn't want hockey to be any part of this rink. He hates kids. And so, like, is this just like, had Gordon Bombay just bizarrely turned into an old grandpa that all of a sudden just hates hockey? What is going to be the backstory to make Gordon Bombay hate hockey? Hockey was Gordon Bombay's life. How he was able to achieve all of the stuff that he was able to do, and so on and so forth. I thought it was interesting how they played. Alex went into Gordon Bombay's office to see, oh, hey, it looks like you were a former hockey pro. And Gordon Bombay says, yeah, I was. And then eventually, when Evan goes to see Gordon Bombay, and they're to say, "Oh my God, you're the former coach of the Mighty Ducks," and Gordon Bombay's like, "Yes, I was. Whoop-de-doo. That doesn't mean I'm going to be a coach here. No." So we have we have to where Gordon comes in and is trying to mentor Alex or Evan and say, "Hey, like, if you want this bad enough, you gotta inspire people to go and play for you." And Gordon Bombay is doing all this crap and kind of mentioning how Alex is trying as much as possible to get this team together, maybe. And so Evan has to figure out how to get his hockey team together by inspiring them to be on to Evan's team and so on and so forth. So we have Evan that goes to his school, goes to the lunch, chucks a lunch tray onto the ground to tell people, "Hey guys, look at those Mighty Duck guys, those schlubs over there. They're the ones that, if you're not a Mighty Duck, you're nothing. So, you know what? Guys, how about you be one of us? If you can't be one of them, be one of us." And so we have it to where Evan is now calling upon the people that they had called upon before, him and Nick, and just like, "Come on to our side. Be the outcast. Be the misfit. Be the bench warmer person that is no longer going to be warming a bench anymore. Come on down. You're the next contestant on We Need People in this on this team. So come on down." So we have it to where Evan and Nick are recalling up. There's one girl that evidently loves like World of Warcraft or something, or Dungeons and Dragons, and it seems that she's like, "Hey, yeah, I'm an outcast at this school, so I'm gonna just join hockey. I don't maybe know a lick of anything about hockey, but I guess I'll just do this now." And so we have Evan calling upon the skateboard kid to just say, "Hey, I'm going to dare you to join my hockey team." And the skateboard kid says, "Well, you know I don't back down from a dare. So I'm going to join your team now." And so on and so forth. And it seems like there was going to be one girl that Evan talked to that I'm thinking this could be a girlfriend boyfriend situation, but it's a little too early. Because we have Evan talking to this girl saying, "Hey, you know what? Like, your parents are really strict about this Mighty Ducks hockey team. And so, you know what? How about you just go onto a team where you can kind of just chillax and just have fun?" Because Alex Morrow was saying that that's what hockey should be, a thing for people to have fun. None of these kids are going to go straight to the NHL, so they might as well just have fun instead of being drilled to the heavens to be a pro athlete before they're even ready. Like, or before they even get there. That's just years of just drilling into somebody, and to the point to where they're going to have a even shorter shelf life than a normal pro athlete is if they're going to just have this be like a non-fun uh, experience of being in hockey. So going on into here, but I can understand if somebody has a dream as well. So, and they want to really coddle that dream and whatever and make it to where it's like, "I want to be a professional hockey player." It's like, "Well, okay, kid, well, you're going to have to just figure out how you're going to be that today." So we have these kids go on and they get enough people to be in this hockey team thing. We have also Alex and Nick playing this kid in a hockey video game, and they end up going out of their way to find out that this kid is a local hockey video game kid. And so they search this kid out and find out he's a kid that has really quick reflexes. And so I'm like, this guy looks just like Goldberg to me. To be brutally honest, if you look at the original goalie for the Mighty Ducks and you look at this kid, they look like one and the same almost. Sadly enough, but it's what it looks like. So we have this video game kid who is sitting in his recliner playing his hockey game, and so we have it to where this kid is completely disinterested in playing hockey because he doesn't want to go outside, he doesn't want to put pants on, and so on and so forth. And so Evan and Nick say, well, yeah, but you really have like really quick reflexes. And so Nick and Evan just start like dodgeballing this kid, just like throwing random items at this kid, and this kid grabs it and throws it and grabs it and throws it. And so we eventually have this this kid who's, I'm assuming, going to be their goalie, because yeah, so we have this kid just like grabbing all kinds of things out of the air and tossing it off to the side. So it seems that when this kid comes to school and goes into the cafeteria at this perfect time, we have one girl that is saying, well, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this Gatorade and throw it in the trash. Because you were to think that this girl was going to join this hockey team, but instead she ends up wanting to join the number of people that are throwing away things into a trash. And so this girl throws this Gatorade for the goalie kid to catch this Gatorade and say, you know what, I think I want to be a part of this team too. If anything, eventually I'll probably get into more of the names of this, but God, like eventually they're gonna get to so many kids in this freaking show. I think we might have but anyways, so we have these kids, they make their way to this arena that Ari has this event to go on to tell every single, hey, this is the Edina so-and-so team, and this is the Coon Rapids Cardinals, and this is the Bloomington whatever the hex, and so on and so forth. We have this Mighty Ducks team also. And so every single one of these cities are actually Minnesota cities. We also have it to where Evan at some point had a Minnesota sweater on. So I'm like, okay, so they are keeping to the setting of this being Minnesota, even though it might not actually be a thing that is actually done in Minnesota, because you could probably tell whether this is done in Minnesota or not, because snow on ground, or a very cold-like environment, or even clothes that people are tending to wear, you could kind of tell whether it's Minnesota or not. And I think that this kind of feels like a fabricated Minnesota. Like, to me, it doesn't quite feel exactly like a Minnesota to me, but it is what it is. So just putting a winter coat and a beanie on someone's head doesn't make me believe that this is Minnesota. Come on. If you watch the movie The Grumpier Old Men, or The Grumpy Old Men, like that's straight up Minnesota. They literally filmed this movie in Minnesota, and you could see how that's really legitimately Minnesota. Where the Mighty Ducks, yeah, they're not filming in Minnesota. They aren't filming this in Minnesota. The original movies might have looked like Minnesota, but this movie doesn't feel like Minnesota. This show doesn't feel like Minnesota to me, to be brutally honest. So, and if they were filming in Minnesota, I would be surprised. But going on, so we have here to where the kids make their way, and so we have Alex Morrow, who is going to be supposedly the head coach of these Ducks, and she is telling this head coach, "Hey, yeah, like we have our team together. We're registered." And so the Mighty Ducks coach is asking, "Well, what is your team name going to be?" And Alex Morrow says, "I don't know. The Don't Bothers. That's what we're going to be called." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a lazy name." You could come with any animal, and you could have been the Don't Bother Wolverines or the Don't Bother Pigeons from wherever the heck you're from. But so we have it to where they set up the team, and so we have Alex Morrow having to let us know that Alex Morrow was a previous figure skater. And so Gordon Bombay is like, "Well, you know what? You're saying that you're going to be my head coach, the head coach of this hockey team. Well, I want to be able to know that you can actually skate and that you can actually do really well with teaching these kids. It's a safety thing." And so we have Gordon Bombay who goes and has Alex Morrow do her skating routine. And so we have Alex kind of missing a step here or there. You could also see at some points that there is a stunt double in there, but surefire enough, I'm I'm just like, you know what? Whatever things that Alex could have done is really impressive. So bravo to her for even trying to put on a thing of skates, because I think if I were to put on a thing of skates, I would be falling on my batucus a million times over, because I can barely do roller skates or anything along those lines. So heaven forbid me try to even talk about anybody. "Oh yeah, just put on those ice skates. You're gonna fall on your butt." I don't know how many times you probably did that, right? I couldn't even do a thing called skiing, because I'm like, you know what? I'm just not gonna try do a thing where I'm gonna fall on my butt 30 times. Kind of like that was how I was kind of with like even skateboarding. I tried to like attempt skateboarding and I just fell on my butt. So, anyways, yeah, that's the tail end of the movie. That's the whole shebang of the episode. I apologize for how long this took, but I'm also going to get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.